welcome back, horror fans, to the Weird Kid Horror Show. I am your host, the Weird Kid. I gave you a sneak peek back, I guess it was the day before Christmas Eve. I showed you this alien tentacle that I had made. And I had decided to do a tutorial on just how to make the tentacles, how I made the tentacles. Because I got plans for a big prop that's it's gonna require tentacles for an alien creature, which I'm gonna do a tutorial on that whole prop build. But I decided to do just the tentacles by themselves because they are a bit labor intensive, and I'll explain. I've watched a bunch of tutorials on how other people made tentacles, but I really wasn't too happy on how they had done them. There was a bunch of ways. I seen people take pantyhose, stretch it over foam, and then cover them with liquid latex. They had come up with different ways of making the little suckers, but this is what I came up with, and you might want to change and tweak how you do it, but yeah. So without any further ado, here is my tutorial on how I made these alien tentacles.
The first thing that I did was I got my hands on some foam. I got mine at Walmart. You can go there, go to Walmart, Joann's, Michael's. I'm sure you could find it just about anywhere. It comes in all kinds of different shapes and sizes and thicknesses. But I'll tell you what, if you are driving down the road and you see that one of your neighbors threw out the couch, you might want to jump out, grab one of the seat cushions, because that's going to give you a big chunk for free. So the first thing I did was I took a pair of scissors and I cut out the shape, the size of the tentacle that I'm after, beefy and thick on one end and tapered off at the other, leaving a little bit at the end if you want to put that poisonous barb that protrudes out the end. And then I just start to carve it, if you will, with the scissors, cutting off the sharp edges and just tapering it all around the entire thing to give it more of a round shape. You just have to keep working at it and working at it until you can finally get it down enough to where you're satisfied with its shape. Once I got the shape that I wanted, I took some craft wire, flexible craft wire, which I found at the dollar store, and then fed it down the center, the entire length of the tentacle, of course not coming out the other end, keeping it within a quarter of an inch at least from the end of the tentacle. And then before I cut it, I curved it over, cut it, and left a hook on the end. Now this will help me later on when I hang it up to paint it. And it also serves as when you're ready to use this prop and it's all done painted, then you can put it in the position that you want, bringing it to life, so to speak. Once I was happy with the shape of the tentacle, I was ready to move on to the next step, which was to make the suction cups. For this, I used Sculpey, and taking a little piece of it, I'd roll it into a ball a little bit smaller than a marble, and I'd lay it out on a baking sheet with aluminum foil, and I had to make a bunch of these things. I know there was 2 suction cup per row, and it had to go down the entire length of the tentacles, and I have 4 tentacles, so it's quite a few little balls of Sculpey. Once that was done, I took the rounded edge of a paintbrush and I just stuck it and pushed it into the clay on each little ball, which pretty much instantaneously created the suction cup. Once that was done, I set the oven for 275 and popped them in there for under, I don't know, it was 20-25 minutes, and they were done. I could then move on to something else. Once those little suction cups cooled down, I grabbed some super glue and my tentacles, and I started to glue them on the tentacle in rows of 2, side by side, giving a space in between. I found that Sculpey with super glue adheres really, really well and instantly to that foam. It works really, really good. I wouldn't use anything else. Once all those suction cups were glued onto the tentacles, I can move on to the next step, and that was to hang them up outside, and using Rust-Oleum rubberized undercoating, I sprayed them all down with a nice thick coat of rubberized undercoating. Now, I'm warning you, and this is where I thought these tentacles ended up being like labor intensive. Not that they were hard to make, but the one thing I found out is that it takes forever to dry. It took like 3 days for these things to dry, but there again, I was like putting on super thick coats. But anyways, the result is, it comes out great. Once the tentacles were dry, then I was able to move on to the actual painting. Now, for my project, I chose a bright green, which I later on did some dry brushing on and everything for details. But the final paint for mine won't be completed until the entire prop's put together. So these are just rough, what you're looking at. It may look totally different when you see the actual prop. Anyways, the color is at your discretion, I just happen to use green. You can use whatever you want, whatever suits your project or your taste. Once I was satisfied with my paint and dry brush, then it was time to move on to the little barbs and the large barb that protrudes at the end. And for this, I used Primo translucent polymer clay, and just rolling out little tiny pieces. I rolled like a gazillion of these little barbs, and I made 4 large protruding barbs that come out of the end that I will glue into the suction cups. So after about 20 minutes in the oven and some cool time, I grabbed these things, and using some toenail clippers, I clipped them, shorten them up a bit and give them a flat surface. And then I took super glue and glued them all into the middle of the suction cups. Super glue really works good with these. Once they were all glued in, and that was it. You could pose it any way you want. I can't wait to share with you what I do with these. I hope you enjoyed.
I hope that you found that helpful. Like I said, this is how I did it. And when I said labor intensive, you can understand why now, that the rubberized undercoating spray takes a long time to dry. I really don't understand why. Maybe because it has some kind of reaction with the foam. But keep in mind, I still have some areas where I can still see some pores, which I'm going to work around that when I build the prop. But to really get a good solid skin on your tentacle, you're going to need to put repeated coats of that rubberized coating. I mean, just saturate the heck out of it until you don't see any of the pores anymore. But keep in mind, it's going to take like 3, maybe even 4 days to dry. But the end results, when you take your time adding that skin, which is the rubberized undercoat, you're left with a pretty cool product. I personally like that. Now, like I said during the tutorial, the paint scheme is totally up to you. Me, I just chose green for my paint scheme, but you can choose any colors you want to. Anyways, I hope you found this helpful, and if you decide to do this, I would love to see photos of what you come up with. Keep in mind that this is just for the tentacles. The next video you see for a tutorial is going to be the actual prop that I'm building that call for these tentacles. So I hope you subscribe. Subscribe, hit that little bell. It's going to let you know when I upload more videos, and I hope you join me for this journey. I'm here for the long haul, people. I absolutely love horror, love everything that has to do with Halloween props. I love art, I love building stuff, and what an outlet to be able to share with you my passion, and I hope to have you come along for the ride. So until next time, I appreciate you. Thank you. Peace.